Friends, life is short. Time is flying by. You can't afford to put off what God's put in your heart. You don't have time to live with things holding you back. You have seeds of greatness on the inside.
Suicidal thoughts, hallucinations, nightmares.
We're playing with fire.
Psychosis, suicide, death.
There just is no oversight in any of it.
These people are talking about the side effects of psychotropic drugs, which are given to 12% of the children in Florida who've been removed from their home and are in state foster care. According to this government accountability report, kids in foster care in Florida are about 3 times more likely to receive the drugs than those who are not.
So we have the state making these decisions for people and for children without proper scrutiny.
State Senator Rhonda Storms is leading the charge to rein in the use of these drugs for kids in the welfare system. The issue came to a head after 7-year-old Gabriel Myers hanged himself in the shower of his foster parents' home. This state investigation concluded the use of psychotropic drugs was a contributing factor.
Suicide is one of the black box side effects of the drugs that they were giving for adults. It's no surprise that this little baby had this reaction to these drugs.
Why would you give my baby a medication?
Francesca Moore has been trying to find out that answer for more than 10 years. Her premature daughter was less than 2 pounds when she was born and wasn't gaining weight at a normal rate. The state removed the little girl for failure to thrive and then gave her adult psychotropic drugs. The guidelines on those drugs state they shouldn't be given to any child under the age of 12.
This is experimenting on children. This is killing our children. Our children are in danger for what? Money, greed, power, control?
Is that very often these children are given drugs that were not intended or tested for children.
University of Tampa psychology professor Joseph Sclafani says the drugs are used too often, evidenced by the fact Medicaid paid more than $64 million during 2008 for drugs prescribed for children. Sclafani says it's not just the immediate side effects that he's concerned about.
Problem is sometimes they're overprescribed, and so no one knows when to stop, and then again we don't know what the long-term effects will be down the road because the child's brain is still developing.
No one wants to see a foster child on drugs they don't need to be on.
DCF spokesperson Erin Gillespie says that since Gabriel Myers' death, the agency's made several changes to try to ensure that only children who really need psychotropic drugs get them.
No case management agency is perfect. Children get hurt when they're in foster care. Sometimes children die.
And while DCF's policy is extremely clear, before any child in foster care can be given a psychotropic drug, 2 doctors have to sign off on it, and the biological parent, not the foster parent, has to be notified, or a judge has to sign a court order. But we have evidence that has not always happened.
Well, they wouldn't give me any information about it.
Sharon Shaw is concerned about foster kids' use of psychotropic drugs. Her 2 sons were removed after she and her husband were involved in a domestic violence dispute. The boys were prescribed the drugs without her knowledge, without a court order, and according to court documents, the caseworker lied and said Shaw's parents' rights were terminated when they were not.
I was completely baffled as to how they managed to get that far without having had a court hearing. And I asked the judge, why wasn't there a court hearing for this? Well, now I know why, because she had signed a form getting around.
Saying that your parental rights were terminated, which was an absolute bald-faced lie.
Bald-faced lie.
As evidenced in Francesca Moore's case, it's a lie the state has been living for more than a decade.
I had no knowledge, and they never told me or the court.
We have children in the system who were given so much psychotropic drugs that their little gums were bleeding, that when they went to school every day, they could not keep their head up.
And that's why under Storm's proposed legislation, the state would have to show a compelling state interest before a child in DCF foster care is medicated.
And they said, we don't need any more protection because we have 2 docs.
Because they're doing it so well.
Well, that's exactly
That's right, which is why we have children who have died.
Meantime, nationally, every week a child goes into a coma. 4 children die of side effects, and 1 child commits suicide because of these drugs, which are intended to help kids, often don't. Mike Deason, 10 News.